Right here next to me is the new VW ID.4 Pro S all-wheel drive, and electric crossovers like this are becoming very popular these days. So on this episode, I have a very special treat because I can compare two electric cars, the VW ID.4 to the Mustang Mach-E. And with me is Alex from Alex on Autos.
Yes, I am. I am here.
Hello. And dude, you actually own this car.
Yes, this is correct. At the moment, we have this as a long-term review vehicle here at Alex on Autos, but it is going away next week. Next week, it is being roomed away.
Oh.
Yep. So you are lucky.
I caught it just in time.
Caught it just in time.
And this is our loaner car, right? The ID.4.
This is the ID.4 all-wheel drive.
Both of them can be had for about $51,000
Yes.
MSRP.
Obviously not this one.
Not this one.
This exact model for 2022, you can get this one, it would be 58 and change, but if you get the smaller battery pack in premium, it could be 51.8, which is, I think, same price as this one?
Yeah, this is $50,870 for this one. So what I want to do in this video, first of all, I want to ask you, do you love your Mach-E or not? But also compare the two, right? And see which one is, maybe fits your budget better or your needs better, because they're very similar. But there must be differences.
They definitely are, yep.
So how about this? How about we talk about the VW first, take it for a drive?
Yep,
and then take your Mach-E for a drive.
Sounds good.
Alex, these two are very, very similar, but what are the bones of this VW ID.4?
So this is the new all-wheel drive version. Last year you could only get the rear-wheel drive one. So this one bumps power up to just a skosh over 300 horsepower. It has the same 82 kilowatt hour battery pack, and it's good for 240 miles of range.
Yeah, so how about we take this for a drive first and talk about, what is it like? But before, how about we do the frunk war?
That's true.
Compare frunks?
Yeah, let's compare frunks.
In the ID.4, we have...
No frunk.
No frunk.
Just frunkless.
And this looks very technical. I mean, of course, you can refill your windshield wiper fluid here, some of the coolant, brakes, 12-volt battery.
Yep. And then HVAC stuff right there in the middle.
Yeah, so I wonder why they did this.
There's a good reason for this. When you take a look at the length of the ID.4 versus the Mach-E is about 6 inches longer, and here's why, because under the hood we have a front trunk. And guess what? The bulk of this front trunk is about 6 inches deep, so that's where the extra length went.
So could you fit like a carry-on bag in here?
You actually can. I have one with me.
Okay.
Now, I usually use the front trunk for charging cables and adapters like my Tesla tap that you absolutely have to have with you all the time, but you can definitely put roller luggage in there and those Tesla taps. And the cool thing about this area is you can actually fit a larger bag than this because of the way the hood's shaped. It actually dishes up right here by about 3 inches, so you can actually stick something about 3 inches taller than that profile. It's actually a pretty big frunk.
I love this. I think this is very utilitarian, very useful. Are you a fan of the frunks or not?
I am frunk ambivalent because I understand the design logic. Volkswagen's thing was, if we gave it a frunk, the front would have to be a lot longer, and it's more space practical to give you space in the back. So I understand it, but I do wish under the hood there was at least somewhere to put your Tesla tap, etc., because you can't really go to places like we're here in Carmel Valley without this, because the only charging stations here are Tesla ones, so I had to use this one to charge both.
All right, let's get in the VW and go. All right, let's get into this VW. So one thing I'm noting here, it's got a lot of colors, different colors. The silver, the nice brown, the stitching. What do you think?
I like the interior. I think this is one of Volkswagen's more attractive interiors in the US right now because of that color combo you can get there. The white interior was available for a while. I'm not sure if it still is. Do you recall?
I'm not sure. But also here we have the full panoramic roof.
Yep. And it has one thing that we don't find in the Mach-E or a modern Tesla. It has a power shade, so you can close it. Yeah. That's something that I really love.
Yeah. And also a lot of space here. I mean, I am very comfortable. I can actually move up a little bit. I have my cup holders here, and I have this kind of horizontal screen, and also an interesting controller for my, drive and reverse, which reminds me of the BMW i3, actually.
It does a lot, yeah. It's very in to have a funky shifter in your EV.
Yeah. So, all right.
And touch buttons here, so that's kind of an interesting twist, capacitive touch buttons and sliders. How do you feel about the sliders?
I'm not in love with that. Is this true that they don't light up at night?
Yeah, they don't light up at night. Like there are some illuminated areas, but not the whole area lights up. So when you look at these and you see the different colors, etc., not all of that is illuminated at night.
And these are the temperature controls, right? The volume controls.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of that, but I like the screen orientation, and it's not protruding into my field of view as I'm driving.
Now, one odd thing, you'll see right there on the driver's side, we have the range, 208 is what it's currently saying we have for the battery. But there is no way to see what the percentage of the battery you have left other than going through the infotainment system here. There's one of these charging screens somewhere that tells you, it's odd, that part. I kind of want to see the percentage of my battery.
Yeah, totally, because that's a little bit more telling.
Yeah.
Right? Because the range may change, like right now.
Here it is, I found it. It's on charging. Dig through there, charging, and then it tells you 98%. That's our battery.
Let's actually leave this here. So, because I'm going to accelerate. And this has a motor in the front, motor in the back.
Yep, dual motor.
So that was kind of brisk. That was 45 miles per hour.
I'd go straight there and then turn where it says Carmel Valley Village.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of your neck of the woods.
It is. I'm adjacent.
You're adjacent to this area.
Yes.
I'm not adjacent because we're based in Colorado, but I am appreciative of the all-wheel drive systems because it's snowing back at our office in Boulder, and we have 5 inches of snow already over there.
We have 5 inches of sunlight today.
So, good acceleration here, but the front motor is really not as powerful as the rear motor, right?
Correct, yeah. So they basically use the same rear motor that we find in the regular ID.4, which is a little over 200 horsepower, and then they stick a smaller one up front. But that seems to be really the thing to do. I mean, there actually aren't too many EVs currently out with identical motors, front and rear, for various reasons.
Yeah.
But the motor in the front of the Mach-E is a little bit more powerful than this one.
Yeah, and this is kind of a nice windy road. Which allows us to, just kind of test the car a little bit. And the steering, I mean, a lot of the modern electric steerings are not super communicative.
Yeah, let's be frank.
But, it's okay as a commuter.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see someone try something interesting like a hydraulic power steering on an EV. That would be hilarious and wrong, but I want it.
That's okay. I mean, it's just fine. I mean, this is not a Porsche, so this works just fine.
What do you think about the center console here? Because we've got this big barrier there, but not a lot of usable storage space. And then, even though the center console goes under these cup holders, there's no storage area under there. You can't use it.
Yeah, there's a little bit of space.
You can pull out the cup holders though.
Okay, and have a bigger area.
Got a sliding cubby down there with some USB ports.
Lots of cup holders.
Yep. But yeah, no bin for your purse or your, I don't know, whatever you might want to carry with you.
Well, I don't have a purse, but I wish, it would have been good if there was like a shelf there.
Yeah,
or something. Yeah, something like that. But my view, the mirrors are actually large enough, and the view overall, I think, is quite nice, especially with these little windows here in the A-pillar. So the A-pillar doesn't feel as bulky.
No, yeah, it feels pretty good. It's like this is definitely the EV for a RAV4 CR-V Tiguan shopper that wants to have that same experience but electrified.
And also some ground clearance, right?
Yeah, this is pretty average for the mainstream compact crossover segment, and the Mach-E for some reason has less ground clearance than an actual Mustang GT.
That's very interesting. So before we turn around and head back and jump into the Mustang Mach-E, let's talk about charging and navigation, because this is where they differ.
Yes, they do a little bit. So both have the same AC charging speed, 11 kW. This one will charge a little bit slower on DC fast charging, 125 kW peak versus almost 160 peak in the Mustang Mach-E, so not too far apart. But I think the software is a big difference. Like, we just plugged in Los Angeles, let the car route us.
Yeah.
And let's check and see where it's told us we need to stop to charge. A 50 kW charging station for an hour and 33 minutes.
Okay.
And then it wants us to stop for 2 hours and 8 minutes at this 30 kW charging station. And I know that on this route, which I have driven multiple times in a lot of electric vehicles, that there are 350 kW Electrify America stations, which would be free in this car for 3 years. So 3 years of free charging included.
So why isn't VW, first of all, recommending Electrify America, or also recommending us better and faster chargers?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist here, but maybe it's because Volkswagen has to pay for that Electrify America charging?
I don't know, but it would need to be a little bit more, convenient, I would say.
I would assume so, yeah. And we can check this out in the Mach-E, but this is not the experience we find in the Mustang's navigation interface that's native. It is definitely a little bit better about the charging locations.
Continue to follow Carmel Valley Road.
She's angry at me, by the way.
Yeah.
But
I will say that it's gotten a little bit better because the last time I had an ID.4, it actually wanted me to stop at a level 2 charger for like 8 hours.
So that's not ideal. So 11 kilowatts, I mean, you can wire your house, but it may be a little bit more costly to do so, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. We have an 11 kW level 2 charger at our office, but I live off-grid, so I absolutely cannot level 2 charge at home. And, you know, there are a decent number of people that actually can't level 2 charge at this rate at home or the next generation where, 19 kW is where we're going to see the new electric trucks. That can be a little bit even trickier to charge at home.
Because, for example, in my house, I'm using currently the 240 volt outlet that my dryer, basically in my laundry room, does.
Yeah, so you'd be about 6 kW there, I think, on that, right?
Well, actually, so I'm up to 30 amps.
Yeah,
so I can do about 7.
Oh, well, yeah.
7-ish.
Yeah.
7-ish. So, I mean, that's okay for home overnight. But to get to 11 kW, like you were saying, you would have to, you
need
get
a
another
60 amp circuit for 11 kW, and you're going to need basically an 80 or 90 amp circuit for the next level, 19 kW charging, like you'd find in a Lightning or whatever.
But I mean, charging speeds are very important. I mean, 240 miles of range here is okay for most daily things. But as soon as you start the road trip, like you were suggesting, right, Los Angeles, speed is becoming more and more important. And I wish just their navigation system was a little bit more, or maybe configurable, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I want an Electrify America station.
Right.
And I mean, I can put that address in myself, but it'd be nice if it told me.
Or you could use CarPlay or whatever, but it is kind of a bummer that it doesn't have that built in natively. Going Bay Area to Los Angeles, which I think is a road trip that a lot of Californians will end up doing regularly if you have family on one side or the other. And remember, tons of electric cars are sold in California. This car would need to make 2 DC fast charging stops, and the Mach-E can squeak it in on just 1.
Yep, and also these cars are becoming more popular. Like we said in the beginning, VW sold about 17,000. VW sold about 17,000 ID.4s last year in 2021. Ford sold upwards of 27,000 cars in the United States of the Mach-Es. All right, dude, so as we transfer cars from VW to Ford, let's talk about door handles.
Ooh, door handles.
Or lack thereof.
Yes. Because both of these have weird door handles. So let's go over to your side there, Andre. Take a look at your weird door handle first.
Look, well, it's kind of flush, right?
It looks normal, and it's got the touchy spot for locking the car.
Yes. Bam, lock and unlock. But it's actually not a movable door handle.
It's just a touch button in there.
Yes. So what do you have on the Ford?
On the Ford, we have even weirder things still. Let's go over to the Ford. So over here on the driver's side, you can see this is an electric door. So I press the button, the door actually pops out, and then it's an anti-pinch protection thing. So this has those semi-electric closed doors. And then in the back, there's something even weirder. Same dot, but no tiny vestigial handle. So here, we're supposed to press this and then grab the inside of the door, and there's a rubbery grip here. Now, Ford claims that this is because children, I will be a child, come up to the door and they supposedly naturally do that and then grab the door anyway, even if there's a door handle. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe, but then why does the driver have this? I don't know.
I don't know, but it makes it kind of sleek.
It does make it a sleek look.
Yeah.
I just wish this tiny little handle had a sister back there. We do have the number pad on the door so you can lock and unlock the car too, though.
And I also noticed that they have similar styling, so to speak, because they kind of have this blacked out roof and kind of a sloping color portion.
It's that we want it to look like a Sportback, but then we want it to be as practical as a hatchback.
Yeah. Okay, Alex, thank you for letting me drive.
Oh, no problem.
First of all.
Yeah, the first thing you'll notice is that this is much more a normal car. It's like Ford was definitely copying Tesla. That's why I keep thinking Tesla here. But it's like this is definitely a Tesla impersonation by Ford with some extra buttons.
Yeah, but also a little gauge screen right here in front of me as a driver.
So it's like Tesla for the Ford shopper. So Ford power button, Ford steering wheel with regular buttons and stalks where you think they should be, but big screen and, trying to be Tesla cool, including this big sheet of glass with no normal shade. So I had to do my own, or I had to get one of these aftermarket ones. This is a company that does custom fit shades.
Oops.
And it's got magnets to hold up the middle. But otherwise you just got this big sheet of glass up there. And I find it hot in the summer.
Yeah, so you have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can get a completely reflective one if you want. But Ford will sell you a model with a steel roof, but you can't get all the nice things with the steel roof. You got to get the base model.
Yeah, and this is a premium model, not just the base dual motor.
Right, this is one step above.
Yeah, so I have a dial.
Yep, rotary shifter there. And if you want more regen, you can hit the L button, or you can tweak your drive modes in there. So let's check out the drive mode, because I forget what we're in. We are in Whisper, which is the eco mode, I guess you could say. Power levels are not different. So if you floor it, you get the same amount of power in any mode. Unbridled is the fun one, and the little graphics change there to be more exciting.
Okay.
And then Engage is somewhere in the middle, and that does alter regen braking profiles. Or you can do one pedal driving. I hate one pedal driving. I don't know about you.
Well, off-road it might make sense, but let me try it.
Yeah.
So,
because my thing with one pedal driving is that my right foot is able to move from here to here and back to here.
Yes.
So I like to control my braking.
But electric cars are kind of different in this way because they're regen. So they're already kind of different.
Yeah,
in this,
and we should talk about regen because both of these vehicles, the ID.4 and the Mach-E, are different than Teslas because both of these have blended braking. So if you are going downhill and you put your foot on the brake pedal, it's going to regen more power into the battery until you've hit the max and there's no more regen ability.
Right.
Then the friction brakes will engage. And in every modern Tesla, there's no blended braking. So the only regen you get is that throttle liftoff regen. The moment you put your foot on the brake pedal, you get friction brakes. So that's why Tesla has done one pedal driving in a way,
exactly.
is because that's the only way to maximize your regen. And because they sell the majority of electric cars in the US, they have really defined how they should feel. And in a rational world, blended braking makes a lot more sense because you have more control over it, more finesse, and more regen braking. The amount of power you can put in the battery from regen braking is actually higher in this and in the ID.4 than any modern Tesla.
And I think it will be more important as we move on to bigger vehicles like pickup trucks going electric or big SUVs, right?
One thing that I do like that neither of these vehicles have, but we do find in like the Ioniq 5, is regen paddles on the back. So you can easily adjust how much regen you're getting. I love that feature. We don't find it in either one of these.
But, and that's very important, especially in snowy environments, because these are all-wheel drive crossovers, right? In snowy environments, for example, if you have too much regen, you step off the throttle, and almost the wheels can lock up on
especially the rear-wheel drive ones.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're getting base Mach-E or base ID.4, they're both rear-wheel drive, and that's kind of a tricky thing.
Yeah. All right, dude, I'm gonna floor
Here's
it.
some unbridled for you.
Unbridled. Oh, that's already 50.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the speed limit.
It's
and
definitely peppy.
There's a little bit of like augmented sound.
Oh yes,
you
can turn this. You can turn the propulsion sound on and off. I'm still unsure whether I like the propulsion sound or not. It is novel. Because otherwise you get nothing.
Let me try it again. It almost has that EcoBoost sound or something like that.
It's almost, I'm not sure what it's supposed to be, really.
Yes.
It's not quite an engine.
It's not quite a V8.
Yeah,
it's
but
not a V8.
It's not the Jetsons either, and I kind of wish it was the Jetsons sound. Or at least adjustable. I think I should be able to select my propulsion sound.
And let's talk about range before we talk about navigation. So this has a little bit less range?
No more, 270 miles of range.
Oh, because it's the extended battery.
Extended range, yeah. But if we're talking same price, then it's a little bit less. It's like 224 or something like that versus 240.
So you have some options here.
Yeah.
But of course the price is a little bit higher, like we said, about $51,000 for the less range battery, and the extended one, what, 58-ish? Yeah.
But it's interesting that Ford has unlocked more battery. And this one already beats the 270 all the time. Ford was really conservative with their numbers. And initially when we placed the order and Mach-E was launched, I thought, gee, this thing doesn't seem very efficient because 270 miles of range, big battery pack. This battery pack's almost as big as a Model S P100D. This is nearly 100 kilowatt hours of battery. But in real world driving, this will do 290 miles of range out on the open highway. But everything about the range estimation is conservative. It says 190 miles of range at 100% battery.
Yeah, what is up with that?
But if we were to just go on an open highway with the cruise control set to 75 to Los Angeles, it would go 290 miles before you ran out of battery.
So you've seen this in the real world?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going to Los Angeles and back, you only have to make 2 charging stops. One to get to Los Angeles, turn around, one to get back home. So the range is really good. And then for 2022, they unlocked a little bit more battery, but they did not choose to up the EPA range anymore. So it still says 270. So range definitely is good in this, but it's much bigger battery pack. It's heavier, etc., than the ID.4.
And this has about, what, 9,285 miles on the clock. So you've been using this car.
Yeah.
What,
It's been my pandemic car. so during the shutdown when there were drive events in Los Angeles, and I thought, well, maybe I shouldn't fly, I just drove this down there because it was easy.
Yeah, that's very cool. So I have to ask you, well, let's navigate first. Let's go to Los Angeles, right?
Yep, we can do that. And let's see here. If I can remember how we ask her. Oh, there's a voice command button somewhere.
Hey, Ford.
I don't have the Hey Ford on, but there's a way. There we go.
Navigate to Los Angeles.
Oh, I think you have to do it now. Oh, maybe.
Please choose.
Oh, there we go. 261 miles away.
Starting
we have
route
chosen.
to Los Angeles.
And let's see what she's got for us. And we can choose to add EV stations or not. So you can choose whether you want to do that.
Traffic laws.
And so now it says it wants us to use 2 chargers here, which is interesting. Again, very conservative there, but if we look at the details, let's see what she's selected. 2 Electrify America charging stations, one for 15 minutes, one for 35 minutes, and we'll get to Los Angeles with 11%. So it's a little bit more info than we had before. And I would say you can actually skip one if you went further. So it's just saying get to 54%, get to 60%. If you just hung out there until you got to 90, you'd make it.
In one charging.
Yeah, in one charging stop. And a lot of EVs seem to do that. It's just how do you prefer stopping for, one stop for a little bit longer, or do you want to split it up? But that is handy, and she gives you this little little outline where your battery charge could get you. So like this battery could get us all the way to Bakersfield. Actually, oddly enough, where that second charging stop is.
Yeah.
But you can also configure in here how low you want it to be. So if you want to be 20% when you hit that next charging station, just to give you a buffer, you can adjust that too. And Ford has said that this software will also take into account stations that have had problems charging Mach-E's before. So Ford keeps a database of that, and it won't recommend charging stations that error out.
And they're also tracking like topographical terrain, right? So this should be pretty accurate to real life.
It tends to be, again, very pessimistic. It's like Ford's entire thing with range is pessimism.
I think that's probably a good thing.
It's definitely a good thing.
Yeah.
It's something you have to get used to, though. It's never optimistic on the range. It always thinks you're going to end up with less than you will. I wouldn't be surprised if at each of these stops you had 10% more battery than the display is estimating.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And also, they have a little bit more over-the-air updatability, so to speak, than the VW, right?
Right. Ford is claiming that everything in the car can be OTA updatable. We haven't seen that yet, obviously. So supposedly, yes. And we have the bigger screen. So that's the enormous screen, including this volume button is actually not even, or knob is not even an actual volume knob. It's glued to the LCD.
Yeah, kind of a capacitive, because it kind of has your...
It's got little rubber fingers on the back, apparently.
Yeah. So we'll talk about charging on the way back.
Okay.
So on the way back, let's talk about charging, because we already said 11 kilowatts for both cars. But then maximum DC charging is a little bit more.
A little bit faster. It's almost 160 kW peak. And
have you seen that in the real life?
I have, yes. So in my routine charging, DC fast charging, it's 159 kW, so it's right about there. And this software build that this car's running at 80% battery, it falls off a cliff, and it's super slow. That has been fixed for 2022. Theoretically, this is going to get software updated, but I will say Ford is not as up-to-date on their software as I would like. So if I go back here to CarPlay, for instance, and I hit this expand or contract button, CarPlay does not use the whole area, but for 2022, it would give you a portrait mode CarPlay thing.
Okay, I got you.
So not the latest software. Supposedly over-the-air updatable. when's it coming? I don't know.
But I think for all batteries, current technology, right, you often don't want to charge up to 100%, right?
Correct.
You're saving a little bit of battery life in theory, right? And also if you're not doing trips all the time, that's probably where you want to be.
Correct.
But up to 80, right?
Yeah. But it is interesting that a lot of car companies out there are just ultra protective about the batteries. Again, Ford more cautious than some car companies. So Tesla will let you use much more of the battery, and that's why Tesla really pushes that 80% or 90%. In this one, if you charge the battery to 100%, it's still not 100% because there's that buffer. In this model year, it's about 11 kilowatt hours of battery that is reserved. So you cannot charge it ever to 100%. 90 is really as far as you can go.
I gotcha.
So supposedly it's a little bit less harmful to the battery in this or in the ID.4 to go to 90% or 95% versus a Tesla.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But on the other hand, Tesla will let you use the entire battery if you want to, and in this one, it's not allowed.
The other difference between these two, I think, is a little bit in the steering.
Yeah.
This feels, I think it's because I'm in unbridled mode, probably. It feels a little bit heavier.
A little bit heavier. Well, we can whisper you.
Let's go whisper. Yeah, it changes its characteristic just a little bit. Yeah.
And now we have these funky little, I guess, sheets fluttering in the wind. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be.
I guess that's whispers.
Yeah, whispers. If you ever wanted to know what a whisper looks like, that's it. Yeah. And it turns blue if you're, driving economically.
Which I am right now.
Yes.
Well, so we've gone a few miles, and it says we only used about 1% range, 1% battery, and the range stayed the same. So it is very conservative.
Very, very conservative. It seems to be a Ford thing. Now, the center console here is different because it's much lower, and there's a storage area under that area, so you could put your man purse or your purse there. Yes. Or cup holders there, not coverable, and then sort of a I don't know, junk storage area there. Got all your random stuff in there. So a decent amount of storage here and there, but more traditional Ford in some ways. The switch gear and the buttons and everything like that, it's all very Ford.
Including the audio system. It has B&O Play system in it.
But I have to say, I was impressed by the materials in this edition with the fabric inserts on the dash and the soft touch bits here in the middle. This could have believably been like a bargain basement Lincoln, I think, actually, in terms of the interior parts.
And I guess when we can pull over, we can also show the trunk area, but are they about the same as far as volume?
Similar, yeah. I can look up the actual number if you want the actual number.
But in your testing with your suitcase testing, what happened?
Yeah, so we do a 24-inch roller bag test, and they held the same number of 24-inch roller bags. They hold them in different areas. So this one ultimately held more luggage than the ID.4 because it held 5 24-inch roller bags in the back, 1 in the front trunk, plus a 22-inch roller bag in the back. And the ID.4 was the same number of 24-inch bags, but no 22-inch bag.
Let's compare utility very fast before we conclude.
Cargo area. Let's go around the back.
So how do you open this trunk?
That's interesting. There's a button right above the license plate. So we hit that little button just under the little pony, and we get cargo area. Now the cargo area in this one is definitely a little bit more raked forward, as you can see there, but it's oddly enough not as much raked forward as far as the actual cargo area as you might think. There's some extra storage under there. So tire inflator. You can lower the cargo floor, but not when I have this much junk in there. This is where I keep my collection of cables, portable charger,
adapters,
duster. You never know. Yeah, you never know when you might need them.
Yep.
So decent amount of storage space there. 60/40 fold flat seats, of course.
And this fits 5 bags in your bag test?
5 24-inch roller bags in here, yeah.
Okay. Now let's take a look at this. I just pushed the button here.
Yep. There's also, is that a button there? Yeah, button there.
There's also a button here. This looks a little bit not as steeply raked.
Yeah, not as steeply raked, but a little bit shallower in its dimension.
There's still a kind of a underfloor.
Yep, and then there's even an underfloor. And that's where Volkswagen says you could put things like this charge cable. You can toss that in there. But if you got luggage in there, obviously you can't get to your charge cable now. And speaking of charge cables, let's take a look at the Volkswagen one. This one is a level 1 charge cord that's included with the car. Ford gives you a level 2 standard, which is kind of nice. It actually is dual voltage with the Ford. It won't do the max charge rate, but you can do that drier level charging.
Yeah. Very interesting. And the same number of bags in your test?
Same number of bags. Well, actually, I should one clarification there. So same number of 24-inch roller bags, but the Mach-E also had a 22-inch bag in there with it. I couldn't fit another 24. Smaller one would fit. This I like though. Ski pass-through. How are you on ski pass-throughs? I love them.
I do too, because Colorado.
I never use them for skis, but I use them for everything else.
Yeah. Maybe if you're carrying a long umbrella,
umbrellas,
for your picnic.
Yeah, yard tools. You go to Home Depot and you buy a shovel. You stick the shovel right in there.
Okay.
It's a baby one. It's so cute.
It's the one in the
my side by side has a 2-inch hitch, and this doesn't.
Hey. It's not about the size. It's about how you use it.
Oh, okay.
So
that's staying in.
Wow. So you know how I love towing. I'm a truck guy.
Yeah.
We actually have a video of a rear-wheel drive ID.4 on the iGauntlet, and we did tow with it. And actually, it comes with a factory option hitch.
That's true. And you know me, I love towing too. I tow with random things, but this is the tiniest hitch. This is my side-by-side has a 2-inch hitch.
Well, that's okay. You can get an adapter for a 2-inch.
You can.
Yes, and it will tow up to about 2,000 pounds if properly configured.
Yep. So,
but what about the Mustang?
Mustang Mach-E over here. Well,
not
nothing.
so much.
Not so much. Absolutely nothing down here. There's a backup light.
Yeah.
And according to the instruction manual, no towing ever. Not rated for anything.
Yeah, but you can actually do an aftermarket hitch.
Yep.
But maybe for like carrying a bike rack or something like
that.
Ski rack.
I mean, if you got an aftermarket hitch and you had a bike rack or something like that on there, that probably would be okay. But if you came to your dealer and said, I was towing my 5,000-pound trailer with my Mach-E and it blew up, that's not going to be good.
Yeah. So first, I got to ask you, do you love your Mustang Mach-E? Would you do it again? How would you rate it?
Here's where I would say, it's a long-term test vehicle for Alex and Autos.
Yes.
So I bought it because it was hot, hip, and interesting and cool.
Yes, of course.
I did not buy it because I wanted it.
Okay.
But I like it more than I thought I would when we first got it. I actually didn't think I was going to like it that much. And it is a really, really good Tesla impersonation. If you're looking for a Tesla that CCS charges, that has a standard charge connector, has buttons on the inside, and panels where you want them to be, this is that car. This is Tesla fortified.
And it's been fairly reliable in your time with it?
10,000 miles, no issues at all.
Very interesting. So if they were the same price, so let's say 51,000, I would say, this is interesting. I enjoy the Mach-E a little bit more.
Yeah, I like driving the Mach-E better.
Yeah. So it's just kind of subjective.
Yeah. If you do a lot of road tripping, 3 years of free DC fast charging on this, even though that nav system is a hot mess.
But you can navigate yourself.
You can navigate yourself, and the charging is free for 3 years. You can do all the charging you want, and on this one, you're going to have to pay for that.
Ooh, that's a tough choice. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Would you go VW ID.4 all-wheel drive, or would you pick the Mustang?
And I would also be intrigued, do you like the styling of the Mustang and the fact that it's called a Mustang? This reminds me of an actual Mustang that got overinflated, like like a ball, and you're like pumping it up with a tire pump too much. That's exactly what comes to mind when I think of this.
Yeah, that's a huge controversy, right?
Yes.
Should it just be the Mach-E, or should it be the Mustang Mach-E, or what should it be?
I prefer just calling it a Mach-E.
A Mach-E?
Yeah, at least I need a little accent over the E. It could have been a European.
All right, well, go check out Alex on Autos, of course, and check out TFL-studios.com. Alex, do you want to go golfing, maybe?
Yeah, we could try that. I'm not good at it, but I like it.
I'm terrible at golf.
Hey, we'd make a good pair.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us. Let us know what you think in the comments below.
Thanks.